Senior advisor and senior spokesperson for the Biden-Harris 2024 re-election campaign, Adrienne Elrod. Adrienne, let's get into it. Those headlines are brutal. Anybody watching last night saw Joe Biden who wasn't meeting the moment. He couldn't finish thoughts. He couldn't land a thought. He couldn't find words. He couldn't even get it together in his closing statement. If he watches it again, he would say that. It was a disaster across the board. Having said that, I've also said Joe Biden has come back from worse, and I expect that he will. But I'm kind of alone this morning. So I need to understand how the campaign is looking at this. Do they think Biden should fight forward, or is there talk of replacing him?
Yeah, Mika, we certainly think it should fight forward because the bottom line is the fundamentals of this campaign have not changed. We saw Donald Trump on the stage last night. He lied at least 50 times. Joe Biden is still fighting for the American people. And, something that I think you're going to hear us talk more about today, Mika, we conducted our own research, which is standard for a presidential campaign during the debate. And during that research, it showed that independents were turned off by Donald Trump's lies. They were turned off by him lying about January 6th, lying about women's reproductive health, lying about the economy. They were turned off by that. And independents were breaking for Joe Biden, for President Biden, when it came to the core fundamental issues that they cared about. So, look, he got off to a rough start. He said afterwards, I have a sore throat. You may have seen that he went to the Waffle House in Atlanta after the debate, got some food. You're going to see him on the stump today. He's going to North Carolina. He's got a big rally there. He'll be in New York later today at the Stonewall event. Business as usual as far as he's concerned on the campaign. But again, when it comes down to perhaps the night could have gone a little bit better for Joe Biden. But when it comes to the issues that this campaign is about, the issues that matter to the American people, President Joe Biden is on their side. He's fighting for them. And that is what our campaign will continue to drive.
Our phones were exploding last night. I can't imagine the same among members of the campaign. Is there agreement that Joe Biden needs to kind of clean this up and have some good moments in the public space? And by the way, how does he do that? This was debate night in America. Millions of people were watching. We're probably going to get ratings that are pretty high. People were watching across the board. This was the moment to show the contrast. Do you think Joe Biden showed the contrast?
Well, look, a couple of things to keep in mind, Mika. Number one, we actually did have our best grassroots fundraising day of the entire campaign yesterday. And that included fundraising before and after the debate performance. And President Biden has a packed schedule today. As I mentioned, he's going to be traveling to North Carolina. He's on his way there now. He'll be doing a rally. He's going to come to New York for the Stonewall event. He's got packed fundraising events all weekend. He is operating business as usual, taking his message out to voters, hitting the stump, doing what he has to do on this campaign to raise money, to bring money in the door, and to get his message out to voters. Again, got off to kind of a rough start, but he certainly picked up as the debate wore on. And I want to keep going back to some of the independent voters that we saw where they broke during this debate from our own research. And we put out a memo last night, in which, we'll make sure that everyone, watching the show can see. But the independent voters did break for President Biden when it came to the core issues that matter to their everyday lives: women's reproductive health, the economy, who's fighting for them, protecting democracy. They were turned off by Donald Trump's lies, and we're going to keep making that distinction and that contrast very clear.
Isn't that really the way that the campaign for President Biden has to go now, to talk to the needs of the people in the country? That is not about him. It's about what he represents, as opposed to what Donald Trump represents, which in the areas you name, women's rights, LGBTQ, blacks and others, he represents going back to pre-1950 America. Isn't that, rather than playing this one personality against another who may have had a bad night?
Exactly. It was one night. And again, I keep saying the fundamentals of this election have not changed. They have not changed. They are what they were before this debate. They are what they were after this debate, which is democracy being on the line, women's reproductive health being on the line, the economy being on the line. There's so much that is on the line. Democracy across the world, not just here in the United States, but across the world. Those are the issues that Joe Biden cares about. He's fighting for the American people. Donald Trump wants to fight for himself. He wants to get back in office so he can keep himself out of jail. He can seek political retribution on his enemies. He's a convicted felon. So those are the issues that we're going to be talking about on this campaign. President Biden is going to go forward, continuing to drive that contrast. And you're going to see that play out over the next, days and weeks on this campaign.
All right, senior advisor and spokesperson for the Biden-Harris 2024 re-election campaign, Adrienne Elrod. Adrienne, thanks so much.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.